And it is a life that, with the exception of the invention of the outboard motor, would be little different than it was 800 years ago, when wooden boats from Angkor turned the Mekong into a great trade route with China to the east and India to the west. Or 1,000 years before that, when Indian traders first settled the Mekong as a stopover on their trade route to China. Not far from here, in fact, to the west, in the middle of a network of ancient canals, lies the extraordinary ruin of Io, the earliest settlement in the Mekong of merchants and traders from India, and the birthplace of the Khmer civilization that would ultimately build Angkor. Among the artifacts found at Io is a Roman medallion struck in 152 AD, witness across time to the broad, wealthy trading routes that stretched from the Mediterranean to China 2,000 years ago. The earliest writing in the Mekong Delta was found at Io. It is written in Sanskrit. As we head up the Mekong, we follow the waters that carried later Hindu princes and Brahmin priests farther up the river in the 5th and 6th centuries, where they built brick temples in the style of the great brick temples of India. Waters that carried the war canoes of the fierce invaders from central Vietnam in the 12th century, known as the Cham, on their way to a great naval battle with Angkor ships on Tonle Sap Lake. The river here in Cambodia looks virtually as it did then. Wooden houses on stilts. We follow on the waters that French author André Malraux took in 1923 on his way to loot statues from the great Angkor site of Angkor. He would saw off over 1,700 pounds of statues, only to be arrested when he tried to sneak back through Phnom Penh. About the same time Malraux was looting Bantier-Serais, another young French writer, Marguerite Duras, who grew up on the Mekong, wrote the following description in her novel, The Lover.
The river has picked up all it has met with since Tonle Sap and the Cambodian forest. It carries everything along: straw huts, forests, burnt-out fires, dead birds, dead dogs, drowned tigers and buffalo, drowned men, bait, islands of water hyacinth, all stuck together. Everything flows toward the sea, no time for anything to sink. All is swept along by the deep and headlong storm of the inner current, suspended on the surface of the river's strength. My mother tells me that never in my whole life shall I ever again see rivers as beautiful and big and wild as these.
The Mekong was wild, even in Malraux and Duras' time in the 1920s. Lush and dense and remote, as it still is today at many bends in the river. There wasn't even a reliable map of the Mekong as late as 1866, when Emil Gazelle sailed this way with his primitive camera equipment on an expedition to Angkor.